My name is Johana Kreckova, and I will be your teacher today. Our topic for today is Kotlin collections. So let me share the screen. So this is our content for today's lesson. At first, we will talk about what the collections are. Then we will describe the types of the collections. And also, I will talk about differences between the mutable and read-only collections. Then we will try some basic operations in the mutable collections, and then we will go through the list of common operations like transformations, filtering, plus minus operations, grouping, and other. So I would start with the what collections are. So the collections normally their purpose is to contain the group of objects, usually with the same type. Like it can be primitive types like booleans, integers, or it can be strings or some specific objects, like even instances of the classes, which we were talking about last time. So it can be, for example, lists of students or a list of tasks. So I would continue with which types of collections we have in Kotlin. There are three main. First is list, then set, and map. So the list is the collection in which we are looking at the order of the items, and also there are possibilities to have the duplicates inside, which is different to the set, in which we have just unique elements, and also the order of elements doesn't really matter. Then we have the map, which is a key value structure inside, and this key value pair can have its own type, like for example, key can be integer value string, or it can contain even some objects also. But the important part is that the keys are always unique, and the values can be whatever, even also duplicates. So I would start as we are starting normally, so with opening the IntelliJ and start a new project. Can you all see IntelliJ now?
Yes. Yes.
And this will be the lesson 4 already. And as always, we will create a new file in the source code. This will be Kotlin file. And name it main. And we will create a new function main also. Does everyone have it?
Yes.
Just you can check in the meeting the mark or cross. Fine. So I would start with the creation of these 3 types we were talking about. So I will create a simple list of strings. We can either create an empty list like that, but that would be not much useful for us. So I will use this constructor and set directly strings inside. And it will be days of week. Doesn't matter. Okay, start ending Friday. And the same way, I will also create a simple set and map. So, and this will be whatever. Finally, map. So in the map, I will add some pairs of integers and strings. So the first will be Monday. Second will be Tuesday. And third Wednesday. Like that. Now it would be nice to like print out the list. So if we can check this method, we can see it's returning the list. And if you will use the middle button on the mouse, you can check the documentation of the class. So you can see it's a child of the collection class. The same it is for the set. So if I will check the documentation for set, you can see it's inherited from collection. This collection can be quite easily iterated. So we can write a method which will accept both types, list and also the set. So I will write the function, will be its name, it will be print all, for example. And it will take as a parameter the collection. And the type of collection, because we have both collections has inside just strings, so it will be collection of strings. And now we can easily iterate this collection. So I will go through all of the items inside and print it. And to have it somehow divided, I will also include the empty line in the end. So like that, we can print both lists and set. So I will try to run it. And we can see quite nicely printed out. Does anyone have some issue with that, or everyone already have it? Should I wait? Okay, so I will continue. So if I will check this map, you can see that the map is not inherited from this, so I cannot really print the values from it the same way. But of course, we can iterate the same, like as a collection is still iterable, so we can iterate through it, but we would have to somehow print it different way because of the pairs. So I will just quickly write here some quick iteration for it. And for each, I will just print its key and its value. And again, I will make empty line. So now it would be nice to show some basic write operations to these collections. But what happens if I will try to add some item in that list? You can see that there are no methods like add or remove or something, because these lists which we created are not mutable. They are read-only lists. For all these three types in Kotlin, we have two versions. One is read-only, which is just for displaying operation. And the second one, which also has the writing operations. So for creating of the mutable lists, we have to use a different constructor. And that's a mutable list of. So I will just show how it is done. Mutable list. And instead of list of, it can be just mutable list of. And the rest can be same. The same way it can be done also for the set or for map. So what should we do next? So now we have the mutable list. So we could create some simple method which would test the writing operations on that. So I will write the write operations method, which will take as a parameter the mutable list. Strings. And here we can see like we have much more possibilities. So we can, for example, add some values. If I will use just with one parameter, it's always setting the element in the end of the list. So I can add, for example, Saturday. But I can also add some element in some position directly, which I could do like that. It is important to say that in Kotlin, collections indexes starts always at 0. So even Sunday is normally 7th day. We have it like this as a 6th. Also, we can remove items. We can remove directly the strings or remove items by the index. But be careful about the removing of a whole object, like the string, because, for example, if there would be multiple same strings, there could be issues with which item you actually removed. So from my side, the safer way is removing by index. So I can remove, for example, Mondays. And there are much more interesting options, like, for example, we can shuffle whole list, or we can also set some item in some direct position. So we already don't have, we actually don't know which would be the day right now because we've shuffled, but let's set some other Sunday here. And in the end, we should print it so we know when we have it here. And I will call it in our main method. So we can see that now we have here Sunday, which was not here, and it is all shuffled somehow. We have 2 Sundays, so it's correct. So now I would continue with the basic common operations, which are available for all the types, both read-only and mutable versions. And I will start with the transformation, which I like the most personally. So I will create the new method transform. And now what can we do with the transformation method? We can convert already created collection to some different collection, or it can be even same type of collection, but it can have some different type of objects inside. So, for example, if I will take the map, which we have here on the top, and it has integer as a first value and string. So I can, for example, transform it to the list or to the set or something different. So in my case, for example, I will transform it so I just get the order of the days, the numbers here. So I will take the map and apply the map function. now we can see that we are touching each element of this collection, and we can transform it to something different. So from each of this element, which is a pair, I will just take the key. And I will whole set it as a new variable, which will be transformed map. And now if I will print it, yeah. So now you can see I'm trying to make a collection of the strings, but I'm actually having the list of integers, which is not a problem. So I can take a string value from it, because I can transform that however I want. So, and also I will call it, so see everything. And I have here this type. And we can see our transformed map to a list of numbers. Is it working for everyone? Should I wait for someone or describe anything? Okay. So next common common operation, which I will describe, is filtering of lists. So again, we will write separate function for that, and we will filter our list of days. So I will pass the parameter list. And for example, I can filter it by the length of the words which we have here. In our task is 8 hours long, so I can take the list and filter it. And here we have to set some predicate which will return out as the Boolean result. So for each string, which is here, I can check the length. If it's 8, yes, like that. And again, I will pass it to some variable. And print it. And call it. And we can see it's first day. The same way we can filter by, of course, many other predicates. It's just based on what is the object and what is the purpose. So the predicates can be also quite useful for use it for trying to find out different stuff about the whole list. For example, we can check if all the items in the list are having some attribute or are passing some predicate. So we can try to check all the items or any items in the list, or find some item by some predicate. So I would just show several examples of that. Which will be, I will call it predicate. And at first I will just verify if all the items in our list of days are 8 characters long. So I will again pass the list inside of our method. And you can see we have a possibility of the method all, which will return us Boolean in case if all items inside of the list are successful with some predicate. So I will try if all items length is 8. And I will print it in some nice way. So like that. We can try a similar way with other predicates. So I will just copy that and try any. And as last example, I will try to find some element by the predicate. So which will be 7 cars long example. And that will be list find it will be 7. And again I will call it. So works for everyone. You are still synced and not still I didn't lost you. Okay. If someone has any questions for that, you can ask either directly or in the chat. So I can continue probably. What? List. List. What do you mean by that?
Maybe they mean that in the task it's verify if any of the items are 7 cars long and you have 8 in the code on the second line.
Okay, I didn't read
But
my description well.
I'm just guessing. Great. Since it wasn't me.
Now I'm sure you are listening. Yeah. So like these are just super silly examples, so it doesn't really matter like if we are searching for 7 or 8 cars long. But so I will move to other stuff. The next part which I will describe is we can apply plus or minus to directly to the lists in Kotlin. So again, I will write a separate function for that. Plus, minus. And again, I will pass the list inside. So in Kotlin, we can directly add the elements in the list by just a plus operator. So I can, for example, add more Fridays. Or I can even add a list with this operator. So I will add directly new list inside and do whatever. In the same way, it also works, of course, for minus. So we can also create minus, which will be a list minus. We will try to remove Mondays, for example. Monday and Tuesday. And again, I will print it soon. So that should be it. And we can see Monday and Tuesday is definitely not here. That's fine. And those 2 lines are not like considered really because we would have to set it to the variable. So like just I can show it plus list and print it too. So now we can see this is having also the weekend, and this is having the reduced list, I would say. One of the last common operations which I want to show is a grouping of the lists. So I will again write a method for that. Or I will show a different way a bit. So I will directly write it here in our main method. And I will create a new variable. And I will use our list and apply the group by method. And here we can make the grouping by some attribute for each element. So we can, for example, take the first character of it, or we can write our own comparator for that. So I will write my own comparator. So I will prepare it above. Bullshit. No, I will, that's the next time. I will show different thing. The grouping here, which is that I will group, I will make the groups from the list by some, again, some parameter, but then I can apply some extra logic for the groups which are created. So next I will, for example, group it by the length of the words, but then I would like to see like how many items are in each group. So I will display the count of each. And again, I will print it. So I will print both. And now it would be also nice to, extract it to a separate method too, which I will show you a different way how to do it. So if you will choose the block of the code and choose this refactor method, you can automatically extract it to separate function and just write the name of it. And I'm not sure if this was told in some previous lesson, but always we are starting the methods with the small character in the start. So I will call it grouping. And again, we can call it some. So the first one is grouped by the first character. And yeah, it is here. By the first character. And the second one is grouped by the length of the words. And we can see how many words from each group are there. So one of the last things which I want to show is the sorting, which I don't have it in the tasks, but still it would be good to show it. So I will create the sort method. And again, pass some list inside. Is everyone, by the way, on the same page as me? Or should I wait for someone? I literally hear silence, so.
Silence means we're on the same page.
Or afraid to ask. Okay, so I will continue. So if I will take this list and I can again apply the function sorted by, and here we can pass some predicate or some more like attribute. So I can, for example, sort by something related to each item. Like it can be also, for example, the first letter. But I can also make my own comparator for that. So I will create comparator, which will be new comparator. And this will be first item of the type string, and second item of the type string, and then I can compare them. So for example, I will compare their length. And then I can sort it, but it will be not sorted by, but sorted with, which takes as a parameter that comparator. And I will again print it. And call the function. So at first, we can see that this is sorted by the first letter, seems correct. And the second is sorted by the length of the words. Seems also correct. And now I would like to give you a small like task, which is connecting this all this information kind of together. So I would ask you all to try to implement this task recapitulation. And tell me if you were able to do it and what was your implementation. Of course, I can then show you several, or there is not just one way how to implement it. So I can then tell you some ways how to do it. But I would like to you all try at least to implement it somehow yourself to train all of this. So thank you very much. this is all from me as an overview of collections. And now I will give you probably a few minutes, and then I will show you the the implementation. So thank you.